Have you ever told yourself, tomorrow I am going to show up for myself, only to find yourself once again self-abandoning and going into survival mode? Today, we're talking about why this form, how it holds you back, and how we can reparent ourselves in real life. By the end of this video, you'll understand the childhood root and have real, simple, practical strategies for how you start to heal this pattern. I used to abandon myself subconsciously. I turned towards others, safety and comfort, instead of setting boundaries and simply saying no. At midlife, exhausted and burnt out, I finally decided I was going to heal this pattern once and for all. It felt selfish to take care of myself and to meet my own needs, but what I realized, it was actually survival programming, but it kept me emotionally stuck, anxious, and disconnected. During so much of my life, I had set aside my own needs in order to meet the needs of everyone else, simply because I was afraid to stand in my own power and to express what I truly wanted or what my needs were. This was a survival strategy that I had learned in childhood. In fact, I could find a new way. I could empower myself and make a different choice. Self-abandonment isn't weakness. It's a learned coping pattern that many of us have carried with us. It developed when our inner child needed protection, validation, or presence and didn't receive it. Turning away from our own needs made sense when someone else's emotional safety depended on it. But now it's finally time to learn to turn towards yourself instead. Self-abandonment is when we ignore our own thoughts, feelings, or needs in order to avoid conflict or discomfort. It often shows up as people-pleasing, numbing behaviors, or procrastination. But now in midlife, it just keeps you stuck and disconnected from yourself. When childhood emotional needs like validation, autonomy, and approval weren't met, you learn to protect yourself by suppressing your own emotions, your own needs, your own authenticity. You learn to protect yourself by suppressing hurt, emotions, and needs. Self-abandonment often leads to confusion, overwhelm, and shame. It disconnects you from your own intuition and inner knowing. It creates copious amounts of anxiety and causes emotional and physical exhaustion. You work tirelessly for approval, but ultimately just feel unfulfilled, unseen, and unappreciated. The good news, it is possible to reveal and reparent these patterns. Healing doesn't have to be hard, but it is a process of showing up for ourselves each and every day, being very aware of ourselves and the impulses that we have, those impulses to abandon ourselves and to meet the needs of others. But committing to yourself and staying with this work is so empowering. We start to see that the more we prioritize putting ourselves at the center of our own life and working to meet our own needs, the more others around us begin to want to show up in similar ways in our lives. So how do we identify and rewire these patterns? The first thing is always awareness. You start to find your abandonment patterns, like when you find yourself saying yes, when deep down you really want to say no. You work tirelessly to show up for others about all the time and energy that you're spending focused on someone else. We also start to become aware of certain triggers where other people's responses or perceived disapproval or disappointment triggers us to want to be more or do more or prove our worth in some way. The second piece is that we have to validate that younger part. We have to let that younger part of us, usually our inner child, know that we are listening and that we care and that we want to be more present and more intentional. We have to let that younger part have a voice and be present for that part without judgment or criticism. We have to show up with kindness and compassion for ourselves, knowing that those younger parts are often protective parts that formed in childhood. And so many of us with self-abandonment and people-pleasing behaviors, we like to minimize our own needs, or we kept ourselves small to make other people feel more comfortable, or just to avoid tension or discomfort in some way. The third piece is the reparenting piece. We have to be able to grow our inner mother or our inner father, or you can call this a healthy adult. We have to be able to empower that part of us to show up for that younger, scared part, that part that we've suppressed for so long, those needs that we have never really been able to express or verbalize, or if we have, we felt guilt and shame around it. So we have to be able to have a healthy adult part of us that is willing to communicate with this younger part through words, touch, or presence. I see you. I've got you. You're safe now. I'm going to take care of us. And we have to reinforce this by listening to our bodies and being aware of when we do have those triggers so that we can really learn to rebuild this relationship with our inner child. So many of us have been ignoring these messages and signals for so long that our inner parts are very reluctant, and we have to be very intentional in our efforts to show up with consistency and with love. And the last piece of this is anchoring it into our body. We use a grounding breath and we place our hand over our heart. We close our eyes and we repeat, I am safe to be seen. I am worth caring for. And it's okay to take up space. It's safe to be me. And we have to repeat these practices until our nervous system feels safe and not get triggered into fight, flight, or freeze. That we feel safe enough to stay in that parasympathetic state where we connect with others and that we're open to being who we authentically are in the world, no matter what. If this resonated for you, I encourage you to start with my Return to Yourself Nervous System Reset audio track. It's a free resource that's linked in the description below. This will help your body and your nervous system to become more patterned in these new ideas and these new beliefs around prioritizing ourselves and reinforcing our own innate worth. And this will help you to anchor more into your body. Keep in mind, it doesn't have to take a long time. We certainly cannot rush our healing, but we can show up for ourselves each and every day with the intention that innately our body knows what to do to heal. And the subconscious mind is the body. And that's the 95%, which is below our conscious awareness. So the more we intellectualize our healing or try to think our way through healing, the farther we actually get from achieving that outcome. But I would encourage you to disconnect from any type of outcome and be more process focused, because the more that you practice these skill sets and the more you start showing up for yourself, the natural result will be those outcomes that you are seeking. But we can't come at this from a desperate energy, because that's just another rejection or abandonment of self. We have to be committed to the fact that we love ourselves exactly where we are and understand that there's a reason why we are where we are, but there is a pathway forward. And returning to yourself and coming back to your own authenticity is the most natural thing. Sometimes the words or the terms that gets thrown around when we're talking about healing can feel difficult or overwhelming. But the main thing is to do experiments for yourself and just start relying on your own experience to be your guide. Because if we allow ourselves the space to heal, our body is homeostatic and it wants to be in balance. Most of the suffering that we experience actually comes in the resistance of feeling our feelings, or being aware of our pattern, or being able to come at our healing from a place of curiosity and kindness, where we befriend ourselves and we learn that negative internal critic is a patterned response also from childhood, and that we can start relating to ourselves in a much more loving and kind way. And the more that we just show up in that consistency, it becomes natural for us to do that in our most difficult moments. And remember, you're not broken. You're just relearning how to show up for yourself and hold yourself in a place of love, understanding, and compassion. Self-abandonment is a survival skill, and it used to protect us when we needed protecting most. Now it's time to learn a new skill set where we can show up and protect ourselves and allow those younger, more reluctant parts to understand that our healthy adult now will see us and be with us and give us all the things we needed in childhood but never got. And this is the journey back to self. Thank you for being here, and thank you for doing this brave work. I'll catch you on the next one. Take care.